We have somewhat of a new player in the world of electronic bicycle shifting, and it's from a company called Wheeltop. Wheeltop makes components for drop bar bikes, which are road and gravel bikes, and mountain bikes. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at their mountain bike kit. What's unique about Wheeltop is it is an upgrade kit. So you get the shifter and the rear derailleur. You can use the components that are already on your mechanical shifting bike. You can use the cranks, the cassette, the chain, and just change out the rear derailleur and shifter and have electronic shifting that's totally wireless. Another thing that's very unique about Wheeltop is you can use a phone app to program the rear derailleur to go from 3 teeth in the back all the way up to 14, just with one kit. So in theory, as drivetrains continue to get more gears, you can use the same shifter and rear derailleur if you were to upgrade your chain and cassette down the road. Now, when you get the rear derailleur, you would pick a short, medium, or long cage rear derailleur. The short cage is a 58mm cage that goes from 10 to 28 teeth. The medium cage is a 75mm that goes from 10 to 42. And then in this case, the components that I have is a long cage, which is a 93mm cage that goes from 10 up to 52. I'll show you what you get when you get their EDS, which is electronic derailleur system. Instruction manual. So you basically, like I said, get the rear derailleur, you get the shifter, and then you get a charge cable. And I'm going to tell you more features about this as I get it installed on the bike. But I will go ahead and say that this does not have a removable battery. So it comes with, looks like a pretty long cable that you would use to charge up the derailleur on the bike. And I'll also show you the app and the features of the app. I'm going to be installing this on the Lee Coogan Rampage Innova, which is a softail that has Shimano cranks, Shimano chain, and then a Shimano cassette. And we're just going to remove the rear derailleur and remove the shifter and replace it with electronic. So you're going to get all the benefits of electronic shifting, which is much easier installation and then more precise and easier shifting. So let's go ahead and swap this out. Before I put the rear derailleur on the bike, I'll just show you how it shifts with the buttons. It's got a very positive click, but the buttons are not hard to press at all. So really nice tactile feel to the buttons. See if you can hold down a button. Yep, that's great. I did have to remove the grip to get it on. It does not have a split clamp, but that's really not a big deal. And the clamp tucks nicely between the main clamp of the brake lever and this little bar stabilizer on a Shimano XT shifter. So it's got a really nice position on there. Here are your limit screws, and actually the jockey wheels of the rear derailleur were perfectly aligned with both the small and the large cog of the rear cassette, but I went ahead and adjusted them so that they would make contact with the plates, and that way I can make sure I don't throw a chain too far in either direction. And speaking of jockey wheels, if you're curious, the one on the bottom is a 14 and the one on the top is a 12. All right, it's shifting really well. I'll go ahead and mention that fine tuning is a little bit different than SRAM. SRAM you can adjust like anywhere in the cassette. What you do on this one is you actually put it in the smallest cog on the rear cassette, and then there's a little button up at the shifter. You flick it up, you tune it so that the chain is right in the middle, so perfectly on the small cog, and then you flip that switch back down, and then it shifts great all up and down the cassette. That took me a little bit by surprise because I did that when it was up here and then it wouldn't shift down. To charge the rear derailleur, it's got a magnetic connection, so you just put it near it right there. And there's a red light that comes on, and then when the red light goes off, it's charged. The cable's pretty long. Like you can see how far it stretches over to my workbench here. So plenty of room for the cable. So I've got it all charged up, and we are going to go out for a ride and see how this thing shifts. So I've been riding this bike for about an hour with the Wheeltop shifter and rear derailleur, and I would have to say I'm pretty impressed. I actually prefer the feel of the buttons on the shifter more than my SRAM XO transmission. The buttons have a little bit more of a click to them, so it's just a more tactile feel. It's a bit more feedback. but yet the buttons are not hard to push down at all. Shifting is very precise, and I don't think I've had any misshifts. I had a couple times where I didn't engage the button all the way, but just more of my own error. But when I hit the button right, I don't think I've had a misshift. I want to give my final thoughts on the Wheeltop mountain bike shifter and rear derailleur. Specifically, it's the EDS OX. The first thing that I want to do is briefly talk about the app and just show you how you use the app, how I've used it, just some of the features that I found most helpful. After you have paired the system with your phone, when you reopen the app, you do want to tap on the top right to get to the Bluetooth pairing button. On the bottom, there is a settings icon, and that's where you go to set up the number of gears that you have. The app, you can tell it's not natively written in English, so it's got some funny words. But at the top, debug is where you go to do that, and then you go to replace cassette. And I'm not going to do this, but you can change the number of teeth on your rear cassette. And I'll talk about that more in a minute because that's one of the really strong points of this system. The other thing about the app, you actually can shift. If I go to gear shift, I actually can shift the rear derailleur with the app, which is kind of cool. So, other thing you can do with the app is you can record rides. I have not done that because I have a Garmin and I also use Strava. But if you wanted to tap on the little bike icon at the bottom and click go, it would GPS record your ride. So that is a feature that, again, I have not used, but it is built into the app. So really, I guess the main thing I wanted to show you is how you would change the number of teeth on your rear cassette. The last thing I'll mention about the app is you can tap on firmware upgrade, and if it needs to be upgraded, you can upgrade the firmware of your rear derailleur. So yeah, since I talked about being able to change the number of teeth on the cassette, which I also did at the beginning of the video, that's really what sets this system apart from other electronic shifting systems, SRAM and Shimano. And I'll just say that I would honestly purchase this over Shimano. I don't get it why Shimano still isn't true 100% wireless. You still have to put a battery inside your frame. And if you've ever built up a bike with Shimano electronic shifting, I've had a couple gravel bikes with it. It's a pain to try to put the battery somewhere inside your frame. So SRAM and Wheeltop are the only true wireless, and it is, I mean, from building the bike to, you know, just using it, I just prefer true wireless. So again, that's what sets Wheeltop apart, is the fact that you have a 10-speed Shimano cassette, no problem. 11, 12, Shimano goes 14 speed 25 years down the road, no problem. Or SRAM, you can use however many gears you want, which is super cool. Like, I mean, it's just amazing that you can do that. Just use the app and change it. When you set it up, it's so easy to tune. All you have to do is drop it down into the smallest cog and fine tune it like I showed in the video. And then once you shift, it just perfectly, you don't have to fine tune it anymore past that. Once you get it right on that small cog, it will shift all the other ones just perfectly. So setup honestly is very easy on this rear derailleur system. The lever doesn't have quite the adjustability of the SRAM lever, but I actually found the position of the lever to be really comfortable, and once I just rotated it on the bar and got it where I wanted it for my thumb to hit it, it was no problem. So I like the ergonomics. Like I mentioned when I was riding, I really like the positive click, and I actually prefer that lever over SRAM because of just the feedback, the positive click. Now I will say on the rear derailleur, the cage does not have quite as much tension as a Shimano or SRAM, but they do have their own, they call it multi-level damping system, which they say keeps equal chain tension across all the gears. So I have not tried this system on really gnarly terrain, but I can tell you it does shift very well. I did not have any problems, no misshifts like I mentioned when I was riding. And so I would say it, as far as the chain tension, it was fine. And by the way, this is IP67 waterproof, which basically means you could submerge it in a meter of water up to 30 minutes. So it should hold up fine in rain and riding through creek crossings. Currently, they don't offer a direct mount rear derailleur that would be used on a UDH or universal derailleur hanger bike. Now, obviously, any UDH bike, you can put a derailleur hanger on it. The only two negatives I can say about the system is the fact that there is not a direct mount option. And to me, the biggest advantage of direct mount is just the fact that it's just a more durable system. The other negative is just the fact that it does not come with a removable battery. Now, that's going to depend on your use case if that's a negative. It's a more simple system, but you don't get the opportunity to carry other batteries, especially like if you're doing a really long bike packing trip. In that case, you could just take a little charging block and a cable and just charge it up. But I mean, if you have the thing fully charged before a bike packing trip, you'd have to do a super long trip for you to run out of battery. I don't know the exact battery life. I'll put it on the screen. I'll have to look it up. I don't know. I forgot to look that up before this video shoot. But you know, most, like my SRAM, I can go a month without charging the battery. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but it's just being able to take another battery. Like, you just have to be a little bit more aware of charging, right? If you're going to go on a trip, just charge it, and don't just head out without charging it and think you can just have another battery, because you can't. All of us are used to charging our phones every day, so whatever. It's probably not a big deal, but just want to mention that. So that's going to wrap up this video of the Wheeltop mountain bike system. Probably one of the best systems out there for upgrading your current mechanical shifting. If you just want to go mechanical or go from mechanical to electronic, this is a great way to do it. Or if you want electronic shifting, but you don't want to spend a ton of money, you could buy, like I have here, a good old Shimano XT cassette, chain, and crank, and buy the Wheeltop system, which currently, by the way, I haven't mentioned in this video, online right now, it's about $530. And so you can upgrade or purchase a complete drivetrain with Shimano, let's say, or you could even go SRAM GX, whatever, and just keep it budget friendly and have electronic shifting. So a lot of potential with this to do things like that. So anyway, if you've used this particular system, let me know in the comments below what you think. If you have any questions or comments that I have not addressed in this video, drop those below as well, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.